Well, this isn't what I was expecting my end-of-season Raiders video to be about. So, as many of you probably know by now, the Raiders have fired Antonio Pierce. This comes after a lot of speculation and Pierce hosting an end-of-season press conference. Not the first time the Raiders have fired a head coach in this fashion, just ask Jack Del Rio, but obviously this now creates a lot of new discussions. Before we get to what comes next though, I do want to give some quick thoughts on Antonio Pierce. He wasn't a head coach, he was a vibes guy. Great for the locker room and did everything he needed to do to galvanize the Raiders after the firing of Josh McDaniels, but as you all know, great vibes only take you so far. And that was more than proven with the 2024 Raiders. Being the only AFC West team to not make the playoffs, the Raiders went 0-6 in the division and lost by an average of 11 points. In a division featuring the likes of Mahomes and Reed, Herbert and Harbaugh, and Nix and Peyton, that's just not gonna cut it. Yes, the Raiders were the furthest thing from the most talented team. When your quarterbacks are Gardner Minshew and AOC, you're not going to succeed in that division. But simply put, Pierce just wasn't cut out to be a head coach. He was extremely overmatched, and you could bet your life savings he was going to end up in a dumb decisions video. He's what people thought Dan Campbell was going to be when he first got hired. With that being said though, I don't hate AP by any means. He was always meant to be a short-term head coach to boost the locker room when needed, and he did that job well. As I said, he was a vibes guy, and a good one at that. Whatever comes next for him, I wish him well. So now we get to the question, who do the Raiders hire? From the sounds of it, Tom Brady will make one last attempt at convincing Mike Vrabel to take the Raiders job. Obviously, if Brady convinces him, then no doubt Vrabel is the number one man for the job. But if they lose him to New England, which is still predicted to happen, who do the Raiders go after? My guess is I don't see them being an attractive enough location to get someone like a Ben Johnson, a Joe Brady, or even a Liam Cohen. So who does that leave? Well, two interesting names that come to mind for me are Brian Flores and Todd Monken. Flores seems like the defensive-minded coach that would work well in taking over the culture that Antonio Pierce is leaving, and he'd also be an upgrade as a head coach, quarterback issues aside. Then you have Todd Monken, who's a very interesting name. He's done a great job as Ravens offensive coordinator, and he's helped turn Lamar back into MVP Lamar. Obviously, I mentioned him as a coaching candidate for the Raiders because he was Georgia's offensive coordinator when Brock Bowers was there. And with how great Brock Bowers looked in his rookie season, just imagine what would happen if you reunite him with the man that helped make him into a superstar prospect. I'm not saying that Monken would be a guarantee to be a good head coach or anything, but with Brock Bowers on the Raiders, it's something worth considering. To wrap this video up, there's a giant elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. What happens with Max Crosby? It's well documented that Crosby was a huge factor in Mark Davis giving Antonio Pierce the coaching job. And with Pierce gone, many are already firing up their trade proposals. Crosby has also made it clear that he's not here for a Raiders rebuild, and considering how things are looking, those words are definitely ringing in Max's head right now. Obviously, it will be a wait and see as to what the Raiders do this offseason. Lots can happen, and it's definitely going to be a very busy offseason for the Raiders front office. I wish them the best, because God knows this franchise needs to make some progress.